Okay, is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So today we're going to talk about getters and setters. We're going to talk about exceptions. And we will also talk about the different access modifiers that we have. So let me open up my notes. Okay. So what are exceptions in Apex? So what happens is it's not exceptions are something that may or may not happen. Okay, so for example, let's say we have a game going on, a cricket match going on, and then there is a chance that it might rain, and then what will happen is if it rains it will stop the game. Okay, so similarly exceptions basically are runtime errors that occur when something unexpected happens. It doesn't have to happen all the time, but let's say we are making a call out to an external system and their service is down. So, not always their service is going to be down. There might be a probability that their service is down. And if you don't handle it properly, your whole program halts. Okay. So, in Apex, exceptions are runtime errors that occur when something unexpected happens during the code execution, such as, let's say, you are dividing a number by zero. The result of that is infinite. So this will result into something called as a math exception. There are different types of exceptions that are available in Salesforce. So there is math exception, DML exception, anything to do with the data manipulation. If you're trying to insert a record and you did not provide the required field, that will result into a DML exception. So there are different types of exceptions that will occur. You're trying to query a record that doesn't exist or inserting a record that violates a validation rule. So these are something that will result into exceptions. So you have to handle those exceptions very well. Apex provides a structured way to handle these errors using try catch finally blocks, ensuring that your program doesn't abruptly stop. So, in order to prevent your program to stop abruptly, you have to use try catch blocks. Okay, you have to handle these exceptions. So, let's say I'll give you an example here, and let's say you are trying to insert, you have written something like this. Okay, you are saying account ACC is equals to new of account. Okay, and you're trying to insert a new account record and you are saying insert on ACC. Now this particular code will result into an exception. Can you tell me why this will result into an exception? Guys, I'm asking you.
Because you're not passing in parameters like no information, just a new account, no required field.
Exactly. So what's happening is in this case, it will result into an error because you are not passing one of the required field values on the account object, which is name. So this will result into DML exception. Okay. Now, once this exception occurs, it will basically abrupt the program. So let's say you have written something like you have written after this account ACC is equals to new of account. Okay, and then you said insert on account, and then let's say you did system dot of debug, hey, I am Deepika, just like that. Okay, so what will happen is this statement is the one that will cause an error or an exception, but your program will halt and it won't even execute this line, even though there is nothing wrong with this line. Okay, but if you would have handled the exception properly, handling the exception means you write the code whatever you think can result into an exception. So here you're going to say account acc is equals to new of account. Okay, new of account, and here you are saying insert of acc. So you know that this particular statement can result into exception, so you wrote these instructions inside a try block, and then you write a catch block because every try needs to have a catch block, and you can catch a specific exception. So you know that this can result into a DML exception because this is a DML operation, right? This is an insert operation. So this will result into a DML exception. Either you can say here DML exception, or you can just use a generic one which is called as exception. Okay, exception E, and then here you will do something to handle it. Okay, and then if you write a system dot of debug after this statement, and it will get executed because an exception occurred here, it will go to the catch block and it will go ahead and execute, it will continue executing it. Okay, so this will not halt your program, it will continue executing your program even though an exception has occurred in this statement. That is why you need to handle these exceptions. So it won't go if you had written another line after this insert statement within this try, this will not execute. Once it has gone inside of the catch block, it won't return to the next statement. It will basically continue your program after the catch statements. Any questions here, guys?
This reminds me of a fault path and flow.
Exactly. It is kind of like that. It is exactly the fault path. So now, this is how. So always remember, whatever the code you think might result into an exception, you will write inside of the try. And then you can have multiple catch block also. You can have one catch block to handle a DML exception. You can have another catch block to handle a, let's say, null pointer exception. You can have another catch block. You can have different types of catch blocks, and depending upon what type of exception has occurred, that particular catch block will get executed. And if no exception has occurred, no catch block will get executed. Okay, and then you have something called as finally block. Finally block is the block that will get executed no matter an exception has occurred or hasn't occurred. So it will get executed all the time. Catch block will only get executed if an exception has occurred. Okay, but finally block will get executed if exception occurred then also, and if the exception didn't occur, then also the finally block will get executed. Okay, so going back here, so there are different types of exceptions, and we will take a look at all these different types. There are system defined exceptions. Okay, these are built into Apex, so the Salesforce knows about it and it has already created these exceptions. And you have null pointer exception, means if you have assigned a value equals to null, and then you are doing, let's say, you are saying string name is equals to null, and then you're saying name dot of lowercase, this is a method you're calling on this null value, this will result into null pointer exception. Query exception, that will occur, let's say you're querying a record which doesn't even exist, then that will result into query exception. DML exception, if you're trying to insert a record, either there is a validation error message has fired or you're not putting the required field values, that will result into DML exception. Math exception will occur, let's say you're dividing a number by 0, that is result into a math exception. List exception will occur, let's say you created a list and you're trying to access the element which is doesn't outside the range of the list. So let's say in the list you added these elements, okay, A, B, C, so there are total of 3 elements, and you are saying give me an index of 4, that will result into a wrist exception, because you only have up till 0, 1, 2, only up till 2 index you have elements. You have nothing available in the 4th index. This will result into list exception. Okay. Type exception will occur if you are type exception. I have to figure out what it is. I hope I have an example. But these are the different types of system defined exceptions. Now, let's say you want to throw a customized business logic error. Okay, for better tracking of your errors, to throw a better error message to the end user. In those cases, you can also create custom exceptions. Okay, so this is something that developers will create it to handle specific business logic errors. You create these by extended the exception class. So yesterday we talked about inheritance, and we remember that if you want to inherit, you will have to use something called as extends, and then you have to extend from this class that is already available in Salesforce called exception. Okay, and we will take a look at custom exceptions also. But these are the different types of exceptions that are available. So now let's look at this code. Okay, so anything that you think will result into an exception or that might fail, you put that code inside of the try block. Then followed by the try, you have a catch block, or you can have multiple catch block. Okay, and then this is the exception that you are handling. So this is basically, any exception is an exception, right? So you basically have a bigger bucket which handle every kind of exception. So this code, even if it is throwing DML exception, or if it is throwing a query exception, or if it is throwing a list exception, doesn't matter. The any of these exceptions, the catch block will get executed, this catch block. If this catch block is of DML exception and this block of code is throwing a query exception, then this catch block is not going to get executed. Okay, and since this catch block didn't get executed, you have not handled this exception properly, so your program will halt. So you have to have a proper catch block. And if you don't have a proper catch block, you can handle any kind of exception using this catch of exception. Okay, and finally, you may or may not write, not always you have to have a finally block, but if you have a finally block, it will get executed no matter what. Okay, any questions on what we have done so far? Guys, did you understand what I'm teaching?
So if it has multiple exceptions, it'll list each and every exception. And right? Will it give you an error message for each and every exception? Is that correct or no?
So what happens is, let's say inside of a try, okay, you have a depending upon what exception was thrown first. Okay, so let's say this one insert of a, this might result into DML exception. Okay, and then you are querying a record, select ID from account, and that account record doesn't exist. This will result into query exception. But if this statement executed fine, then, or this caused an issue, then this corresponding catch block will get executed. Only one catch block will get executed depending upon what kind of exception was thrown. If this statement has thrown an exception, the flow is not going to go and execute this statement after that, because this has resulted into an error or exception.
Okay.
It will come directly to the catch block, and that catch block will get executed, and then it will go and proceed after that. Okay,
So if you had multiple ones, it would look at the first one, give you exception on that. Then when you solve that, then it would go to the
then
next one, right?
it will come out of that try catch. It will come out.
Okay.
Let me show you an example. Okay, so here, let's say we go over to the yeah, go ahead.
It works like if else.
Hey Deepika, I think Ravi has a question in the chat.
1 second, let me see, what is this? Okay, So Ravi, the ordering of exception does matter. So if you have put, let's say, a list exception, for a basic example would be, let's say you have a try catch block. Okay, so always write more specific exceptions in the catch block first and the generic exceptions at the bottom. So if there is a catch block which results into list exception, you have something called list exception to handle that kind of exception, and then you have a catch block to handle the rest of the exception using this exception E. Then this is fine. But if you had reversed it, means where exception is on the top and list exception comes here, then this statement list exception catch block will never get executed because every type of exception will be handled by this catch block. Okay, so the order of exceptions matter. The more generic ones you put it at the bottom, the more specific ones you put it at the top.
More
Okay.
generic ones means like,
Generic
you know,
ones is like exception. Like this is a generic exception because it handles every kind of exception. List exception is a more special type of exception. Okay.
oh,
So whenever you're writing a catch and the multiple catch blocks, you always have to put a specific, like it's specific exceptions first, and then you go for the generic ones. Okay, and if you want to look at the exception class, it is available in the Apex documentation. Okay, and you will see what are the different types of exceptions that are there. Okay, so exception class, and these are all the different types of exceptions that we have: illegal argument exception, JSON exception, list exception. These are the different types of exceptions that are there. Okay, now and these also have some methods. So if you want to go ahead and look at some of the important exceptions, I think the ones I told you is pretty common, and you will come across those more often. So now let's go ahead and do a simple example, and then I'll explain to you what happens. Okay.
So Deepika, so what my understanding is, try and catch. I'm sorry, I missed yesterday class. So try and catch is just a tool, and with the tool you are catching the exception errors, right? So you can use the try and catch for any other errors. It doesn't have
But
to be
not
exception,
for
right?
governor limit exceptions. So when we talk about governor limit exceptions, you cannot handle those exceptions. Those will definitely halt your program right away. But if you're talking about any other exceptions other than governor limit, you can handle them using a try catch block.
Okay.
Okay. But the problem is the exception will occur, but you can still continue with your program execution. If you have not had a try catch, your program will halt abruptly and you won't get, nothing will get executed. Okay, I'll give you an example, that way things will get more clear. So here, let's say we do this. Is it okay if I use developer console then Visual Studio Code, or do you want me to go through Visual Studio Code?
Visual Studio Code.
We are good.
You want Visual Studio Code?
Yes.
Okay, sir. Okay, ma'am. Let me go ahead and pull it up. Okay. So here I'm gonna go close this, and then you have hello.apex, and I have a code in here. Okay. So now you see here, okay, so see, integer a is equals to 10, b is equals to 0, and you're doing c is equals to a divided by b. Okay, now if you go ahead and execute this particular line, this will result into an exception. Okay, this will result into an exception, and because this is a divided by b, it is a math operation, it will result into a math exception. Okay, and this is the variable of the type math exception, and then you are saying error division by 0 is not allowed. So this exception got handled with this catch block. But this is very important. If you would have put a DML exception here and this piece of code is throwing a math exception, this catch block will not get executed and you won't be able to handle your exception. So the type of exception always matter, and at the time when you don't know what type of exception is it, you can always put a generic one, which is exception. Okay, so now what is going to be the output of this program?
Error division by 0.
What is the one?
Error division by 0 is not allowed.
And then what?
Finally, block
Just
executed. Yeah.
And finally block will get executed, because finally block will get executed no matter what. Cache block will only get executed when there is an exception occurred. So if I go here, Control Shift P, execute anonymous window. Okay, what happened here? Line 1, there is an error. There's no R. Where is it looking at the word R? Okay, so this, I don't know what was the error. So you can see here, this is your debug statement that got executed. Division by 0 is not allowed, and finally block executed. Now, if you see here, this piece of code has not, this piece of code basically did not get executed, because the moment an exception is thrown, once an exception is thrown in this line, it will come to that specific catch block. It is not going to go back and try to go to the next line. It will start from either after the finally, whatever statements you have written here, those will get executed. Okay, so always remember that the flow is not going to go back to the next line in the try. It will basically come out of that try block and then it will continue with the remaining statements. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, here if I say DML exception,
I just have one quick question, and that was as far as best practice in writing code, is this here the try catch finally exceptions, like you want to include exception handling in your code?
oh yes, exception handling is very important, and when you're writing code, you always need to include try and catch block, and that will basically result into handling the exceptions. You will see try catch block a lot in your code, because the developers need to handle these exceptions, because the moment an exception occurs, everything will stop. Okay, and nothing will get executed. That's why
so
it's very
they kind of
important.
want to, okay, because like I've seen, there could be hundreds of lines of code, and it just helps to identify, any kind of system errors, maybe, at every 20 lines or something like that.
Yeah, and also if you don't handle it, your program will stop.
True, exactly.
Okay.
So is that kind of what it is? Like, should we get in the habit of, every 10 or 15 or wherever it makes sense in the
no,
logic?
so you can have multiple try catches, and you can yes, you can usually they put a lot of code in one try catch, but then what will happen is once an exception occurs, it won't go back to that line. But at least looking at that exception error, you will see where that exception has occurred at which line. Okay.
Right.
And then you can go back and look at the code and fix it. That okay,
So
this
there's
is
no set rule as to like when to place it?
No, yes, there's no set rule. There's no, depending upon which line can result into an exception, then this is a way to handle errors and tell you where that error is. Or let's say you are trying to retrieve account records and there are only 100 account records and you're trying to access 101th record, then it'll tell you that whatever code you have written is not working as expected. So you will be able to figure out which line has the error and you can go and fix it.
So basically, it's used mainly for pinpointing where errors might occur when you're writing long codes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And
me
then let's
being
say,
a junior developer, right? I'm going to use a lot of try catches.
oh
This
yes,
way.
being a developer, you're going to be using a lot of try catch.
Okay.
Okay. Now, so here, guys, if I say integer a, now this is a DML exception, right? And my code is throwing a math exception. There is no correlation between a math exception and a DML exception. So this way, we have not handled the exception. So if I go ahead and do Control-Shift-P, execute it. Okay, why is it telling me? Why is it telling me there's an A issue? Okay, let me go ahead and just for this code, I want to copy it here. Okay, so here if I go execute, you can see here math exception has occurred and nothing got printed. Okay, you basically got a math exception and this piece of code wasn't executed. You did not handle it properly. And since you didn't handle it, your program abruptly ended. Okay, so now if I would have written the, let's say if I had a statement after this system.debug, I am outside of try catch. Okay, and this one has resulted into a math exception, or you would have just used exception, not a specific one. Now tell me what will be the output of this program.
It will execute outside of try catch and
No,
block
give
the
me
other.
give me the
Oh,
complete output. What is going to be the output of this program? Which lines will get printed?
line 11.
Just line 11?
No, not line 7 will come with an error. Line 7 and 9 will come with error, and then line
No,
11
there's no
will,
error. There's no error. Like, see,
not error, it will block it, but 11 will get executed.
no. So what will happen is this is the line that will result into an exception. So it will go to this catch block and this line will get executed. Okay. And this line will get executed and this line will get executed. So three things will be displayed. Okay, so the whatever you write inside of the catch block, that will get executed. Whatever you write inside of finally, that will get executed. There is no error. The exception was
Sorry,
thrown. That's why it came to this catch block.
when you say executed, can you explain on that again? Because I'm getting
Execution
confused.
means
Execute mean
uh,
it will execute, but not with the result, the right result. Can you explain it? I'm just
execute
confused.
means something ran. Something. What is the meaning of execution? Execution means something ran. So here, what will happen is this resulted into an exception. So once this resulted into an exception, it will come to the catch block, and it will whatever you have written inside of the catch block, those statements will run. Those
Okay.
statements will get executed. Okay, exception was thrown, but you have handled it in the right way. Your program did not end it abruptly. You didn't.
Abruptly.
Yeah, because if you would not have used a try catch, your program will end abruptly.
Abruptly.
Here, your program will execute this statement, and this statement. So your program continued the execution even though it was an exception was thrown.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I understand the explanation. I just couldn't explain myself properly.
Yeah, so now if you look at the execute here, you will see, if I have this debug open, you will see error, division by 0 is not allowed. You can see this is the line that got executed. Then finally block executed, because finally will occur no matter what. And then I'm outside of try catch, this will get executed. Okay, now if I would have used, instead of 0, if I would have said 2, tell me what will be the output of this program.
Finally block it. I'm outside try catch. The last two, 9, 11.
Okay, there's one more statement that will get executed. Which ones you're saying? Come back again.
Saying line 9 and 11.
So line number 9 and line number 11. Okay. Will an exception be thrown in this case?
I don't believe
No.
so.
No, exception will not be thrown, right?
No.
So if exception was not thrown, why don't you think this line will get printed?
It will get printed.
It will, right? So it will print line number 5, it will print line number 9, and it will print line number 11. Catch block will not get executed because no exception was thrown. Okay? So if you go here and go to execute, you will see line number 5 got executed. Okay, if I open this up, finally block got executed, and then it is your I'm outside of try catch block got executed. Okay, any questions? Now I can have multiple catch blocks, but the order matters. Okay, so if I would have written catch and then here I am saying math exception, this is wrong because an exception, this is a bigger bucket which will handle every type of exception. So never the catch block will come to this statement. So this block was not reachable. So if you go here, it will say exception type already caught. So it is basically you are getting a, if you have written this code inside of an Apex class, you will get a syntax error that this code is not reachable. So always the order of your catch blocks matter. You can write it up here, okay, and then what will happen is depending upon, okay, so this is the catch block and this will result into a this, if I change it back to 0, now tell me what will be the output of the program. What's going to be the output, guys?
Line 8,
Okay.
14, and 16.
Exactly. So not multiple catch block is going to get executed. Okay, so if I go in and execute, you will see that only one of the catch block got executed, not the second one, because once this has landed into this catch block, it's not an if else that it will continue with the remaining. So this has caused it. So then this particular catch block got executed, this one got skipped, finally will get executed, and then the last statement. Okay, everybody clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you execute with the exception above and then math exception below?
No,
and then
we did that example just now.
Oh,
So
we did that.
Yeah, if
I
you
mean,
put this on top.
If you switch 7 and 11, what would be the output?
Okay, what do you want me to do?
If you switch 7 and 10, excuse me, 7 and 10.
So this won't get executed. You will basically, this will say there is a syntax error with your program, and you will get this error. Exception has already been caught. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Now, guys, let's understand when a DML exception occurs. So as I told you, DML exception occurs. Let me go back here and then let's see. So here you can see you are trying to create an account record, name is required, and then you're doing an insert on account. Okay. Now you have not provided the name field on the account record, and since the name is missing, it will result into a DML exception. Now what will happen is this catch block will get executed and it will say DML failed, and it will give you what was the reason for the DML to be failed. Okay, so if I go ahead and execute this, you will see the complete error. It'll say DML failed, whatever you've written, and then it'll give you the get message is a function available in the exception class that will tell you insert has failed, first exception on row, and it'll tell you the required fields are missing. So it is self-explanatory to tell you why that particular exception has occurred. Okay, so that of get message will give you a good description of the error. Okay, any questions?
So if we add the general exceptions, first it'll execute that DML exception and then it'll give that message, right?
Okay, so you want me to change this to general exception?
Yeah, general exception means yeah.
This is a specific one. This is a DML exception.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so if you, so even if you do this one, anytime you just write simple catch, even then the exception will occur, and it will give you that same message that, hey, if DML failed, there is a required field that was missing on this account record.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Now, query exception. Yes.
Can you add a line after insert ACC like
That won't get
system.debug?
Yeah, system.debug. If you, that is not going to get executed.
But if you add finally and a debug outside try catch, that will, irrespective of whatever happened, will always execute.
You want me to write this statement here, or you want me to write at line number 8?
No, I just want you to try an example with finally. Like after catch, there is a finally, and then our system debug outside.
That we did. Okay, so here, so this is system debug, this block execute. Now you want me to add another system.debug?
Yes. Just to see that, like with different exceptions, the results are same.
Oh, okay. Outside of finally. Yeah. So here,
Thank you.
this one, if you see, so tell me what will be the output here? Which statements will get executed? So here, what will happen is, guys, tell me the answer. Put it in your chat. Okay, so let me see how people are answering. DML failed. This block outside of family. Okay, so let's see. DML failed. Okay, this block and outside of family. Excellent. Line 6, line number 9, and line number 11. Very good. Very good. So now if you see here, this statement is going to result into a DML exception. Now this moment exception occurred, it will jump to the catch block. So we do have a catch block to handle this exception. And then here, this line will get executed. Finally, block will get executed no matter what an exception occurred or didn't occur. And then here you have outside of finally will get executed. So line number 6, line number 9, and line number 11 will get executed. So majority of them, you guys were right. If I do execute it, you can see here the DML failed. This one got executed. Line number 6, line number 9 got executed, and line number 11 got executed. Now, if I would have done something like this, okay? Now tell me what will be the output of the program.
Sorry.
Somebody's yawning. So now tell me what will be the output of the program. Write it in your chat.
I think the same message will come. 6, 9, and 11.
Why?
Because the required field is not being addressed in this.
Look at the code again. What is not what is missing?
Oh, sorry. No, I think account insert successfully will come, I think.
So which statements?
The 6
and
6, 11, and 13.
Excellent. 6, 11, and 13. If I go and execute it, you can see here you have number 6 statement. It will tell you this is the account ID, your 11 statement, and number 13 statement. Okay? Everybody good? Can we proceed?
So Deepika, so DML means that all the accounts that inserting, updating, and delete and delete. So these are the
DML is all those insert statements, update, deletion, undelete. These are part of the anything to do with manipulating the data. These are called as DML statements.
Thank you.
Okay. So here we have a query exception, and then we will talk about the list exception. So here, this particular account doesn't exist, right? This account doesn't exist. and you are querying this account, select this, and because of that, it will result into an exception. And this is a query exception because this is a query exception because this is not existing. The query didn't result into a record, and you basically have gotten a query exception. So this statement will get executed. There is a way to avoid this. Okay, and I'll tell you in a minute, but let's execute this, and you will see for some reason, no idea why this gives an error. Okay, so you can see here e.of get message, no record found. List has no rows for assignment to S object. But if you would have used list of account, this will work fine because a list can have 0 elements, right? So this will not result into an exception. So if I go ahead and do execute, it will basically be fine. And wait a minute. Yeah, so you can see here, no debug statement got executed. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you again. Control-Shift-P, execute. That won't result into any error because this, you are putting it into a list. So it's always important to use a list instead of a single object, because if the query didn't result into any record, then in the case of single object, it will throw a query exception. But if you're using a list will work fine and an exception will not be thrown. Are you getting my point here? Guys, speak up. Otherwise, I don't know if you guys are understanding.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Can you execute it and see what the result?
See here. So if I would have used, if I was using account, this is a single object, right?
Correct. And
basically, if this query is resulting into no records, and if I'm using this statement, account ACC is equals to this query, okay, this will result into query exception because this account doesn't exist and you're trying to, no records have been returned by this query, and you're trying to put it into this variable, will result into a query exception. And you have seen, if I execute this code, you're going to see those debug statements. Oh, wait a minute, Control S. Control-Shift-P. Okay, you can see here this debug statement got printed. List has no rows for assignment. But if I would have switched it instead of using,
see it. I'm sorry. I just did something with my screen. Yeah, I get it. I had to zoom out. Okay, so there's the output.
That's the statement.
When you use account, but then let's see what the output is when you use list.
If you use list of account, then the exception will not be thrown because a list can have 0 items. So if I close this, in this case, if I clear these logs, and if I do Control-Shift-P, execute, you will see no message has been displayed. No debug statement has been executed. Okay?
Yeah, because you don't have a record, an account record labeled not with a name non-existing account in the system.
Yeah, but the previous statement resulted into an exception. This statement, even though there is no account, did not result into an exception.
Yep, because this is taking into account all accounts, whereas the other one was taking into account one record account.
No.
Okay, is it partially correct? Is my statement partially correct? So this one is evaluating the whole list.
Rosalina, tell me what this query is going to do.
It's looking for an account named non-existing account.
So from all the accounts, it is looking
and
the ID. So that's what the query is doing, right? It is looking over all the accounts and trying to fetch. We don't have this account existing in our system. So this will result into how many records? 0.
No record found. Yep.
So it is okay if you are putting the result into a list. Okay. If you were not using a list and you were just using an account record, this code is going to result into an exception, this piece of code.
Clearly.
Yes. Okay. If you would have used a list, this would not result into an exception. If you would have used a list of account rather than a single account, this will work fine without an exception thrown. But if you had used a single account, that will result into an exception.
Got it.
Okay, awesome. Now let's talk about a list exception. List exception is if you're trying to access something which is going to basically, okay.
So Deepika, you always put in a list just for the safer side.
It's always it's better to put it into a list.
Always, right? For the safe side. Okay. All right.
For the safe side. Yeah. So here, how many elements are there in the list?
3.
Okay. So tell me what will be the output of this program.
We'll put it in the chat.
Okay. So what will be displayed onto the UI?
– Can't see the code.
Yeah, I
One
can't see
second.
it.
You have to give me the output, not the line numbers. You have to give me the output. So first,
Yeah, I was going to say Apex. Each of the, yeah.
Look at this 4 properly. So for loop will start at index of, can I explain the answer? Okay, let me first
It'll
look at
just
everybody.
be the exception.
Let's see where the Apex, SQL, DML, and 7. Kalyani gave the right answer. SQL, DML, and 7. See here. In this case, let's look at the output, okay? Then we will go ahead and see what's going on. So whoever is the right answer. So first, Apex got printed, then SQL got printed, then DML got printed, and then you got the exception, this one. Not just list exception. So I'll tell you why. See here, this is your list, okay? How many elements the list has? Apex, okay, SOQL, and DML. Okay, this one is at index of 0, this is at index of 1, this is at index of 2, and the size of this list is 3. So I'm saying integer I is equals to 0, I less than equals to names dot size. So 0 is less than equals to 3. Yes, that is correct. So it will go ahead and print the value of names of 0. What is names of 0? Names of 0 is Apex. So Apex will be displayed. Then it will be I++. So I becomes 1. Again, the condition is going to be checked. I less than equals to 3. Yes, I is less than 1 is less than equals to 3. It will come inside. It will print the value of names of I. Now, names of I is names of 1. What is at index of 1? SOQL. So SOQL would be displayed. Then you are saying I++. So I becomes 2. 2 less than equals to 3. Yes, it is true. Now what will happen? System.debug names of 2. So what is at names of 2? Names of 2 is equals to DML. So DML would be there. Then 2++. So 2 becomes 3. 3 is less than equals to 3. Yes, it is. It will try to print names of 3. Do we have anything at names of 3? No. Basically, this statement will result into an exception, and this is the catch block that will get executed because this exception is of the type list exception, and the catch block is also of the type list exception. Okay? Any questions in understanding this flow? Did you understand why? But if I would have used something like this, now tell me what's going to be the output.
It'd just be Apex, SQL, and DML. Because
no exception will be thrown.
Exception will be thrown.
Excellent. Correct. Excellent. Okay, because it's I less than names. Moment I used I equals to, now tell me if I change this is something different. What's going to be the output here?
It's going to stop at index of 1.
At
Look at it
SOQL.
again.
Apex SOQL.
Go back again. Look at the code again. What's going to be the output here?
SOQL. Tackle DML and then
Just Apex.
Okay. I am starting from which index?
1.
So
it's going to
So
skip
names of I. So what is names of I first time?
Oh, Apex.
SOQL.
Yeah. So names of SOQL. So SOQL will be printed. Then I++. What will be the new value of I?
2.
2 is less than 3 because this is the condition. Now names of 2 is what?
DML.
Yeah. So only these two will be printed. Okay. Apex will be skipped because you're starting from I equals to 1.
Right.
Okay.
And so it would be so-called DML and it would not, the list exception wouldn't
be thrown. Yeah. Okay. So if I do this, because
Understood.
okay, very good. So if you see here, SOQL and DML would be displayed. No exception will be thrown. Now you have to tell me what's going to be the output of the program. Close your eyes, guys, because I'm going to remove some comments that I have. Okay, guys. Now here, looking at it, what's going to be the output?
You didn't put list in front of account. So
Exactly. Good catch. So what will happen in this case? This account doesn't exist.
nothing's going to happen.
Rosalina, look at it again. Will the exception be thrown?
Yes.
Query exception first.
First line. So which
Yes.
first exception will be thrown? What about this one?
Yes. After that, since it is null, then I guess I'm not very sure it should, no, query it won't be. So it must be a DML exception or a exception. And since it is again updating it, so it will again fire an
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? Once an exception is thrown, does it go back to the next line in the try block?
Not. Okay, it's a try block. No.
Yeah. Guys,
so query exception.
It breaks my heart.
No.
Sorry,
I was going to say I was only going to throw one, but I just didn't know which one. But because you explained that it was a SOQL exception, DML exception is going to be thrown. Or excuse me, query.
Query exception, because
I got it.
This statement is going to give you the error.
Yeah,
this is a query exception, and this catch block will get executed. Nothing after this will get executed, and these two statements will be skipped because it came out of the try block and it went over to the query exception block.
Now, can you give the example for a DML exception?
So if you would have said, let's pull up an account, DML would be
create, delete, something like that.
No. DML, if I remove this, let's say we made this one, list of account. And here we have, let's say, Burlington Textile. Okay. I will just use this. Now this is going to result, this query, now this record exists. So this will be available here. Now you're trying to put account.name is equals to null. So now in this case, what exception will be thrown?
Well, the DML operation.
Yeah, so DML exception is going to be thrown because you're putting a null value in the name. It is basically as good as putting nothing in the name. So if you execute this program, Control-Shift-P, execute it, you will see the DML exception is thrown, and this is the statement that got printed. First exception on row with ID this, required field missing name. Okay, so in this case, a DML exception is thrown. You getting my point? Okay. Now let's talk about custom exceptions. Now, what is the purpose of a custom exception? So let's say your business logic will also have some errors, right? If your application is a loan processing application and there might be errors related to the loan processing itself. Let's say the user has not given a valid social security, or the user have a bad credit card, or things like that. Okay. So the application was disapproved. When you want to throw some business related information and errors, in that case, you will create a custom exception. Okay, a custom exception is an exception that you create yourself when you want to handle specific business logic errors that the standard exceptions don't cover. So based on your business logic, if you want to throw some types of errors, or that's when you're going to create a custom exception. Okay, Salesforce gives you general exceptions for system errors, but sometimes you need your own named error to make debugging and error handling more meaningful. So if you want to give more business logic related errors to be displayed, that way the debugging of your application is smooth. You know, okay, this record failed because this record had these many issues with it. When you want more business related answers, you create your own exceptions. And the way to create an exception is this way. You first create a class and you use extends keyword. Okay, extends from exception class. That means it is a custom exception. So there are some rules that you have to follow. That class that you want to make it as a exception class, you have to extend it from this class. We talked about inheritance yesterday, so this is a class available. So once you create a class which extends from exception, that makes it a custom exception, and you can throw that custom exception. Now let me give an example to make it understandable. Okay, so I will go ahead and create a so this is how you do it. Public class, this is your class name, extends from the exception class. There are no methods that you have to declare or define, nothing like that. Okay, you just have to make this extends from exception. That is it. Okay, so now let's create a simple exception. I had another example. Okay, invalid discount exception. This is my exception I'm creating. So I'll go here, Control Shift Apex, create an Apex class. This is the name of the class, and this class extends exception. Okay, so this is my class here, nothing else I'm doing. And then I am creating another class, order service, Control Shift P, create Apex class, pay extra attention because this is important. And here we will go to the public static, remove the bit sharing, and here is your answer now. Okay. Okay, guys. So now I created an exception class. Okay, so this all I did was, this is a simple blank class which extends from this exception class, and this is a Salesforce built-in class. Okay, you have not created a class called exception. It is already given to you by Apex. All you have to do is you have to extend from the exception class. Okay, now I have an order service class. And inside of this, I have a static method called apply discount, and it takes in one parameter of the type decimal. All I'm saying is, if the discount that we passed is greater than 50, in this case, this code is going to throw an exception. And this is the message it is going to throw, saying discount can be more than 50%. And otherwise, whatever discount will be, whatever you are passing, it will work fine. So now in this case, if I execute this program, okay, so if I go ahead and execute it, so if I go to the hello.apex, now tell me what will happen here. Order service dot apply discount. What's going to be the
Line,
output?
line 5.
Which one? From where? From which class? Line 5.
From the other one.
Okay. So here you're trying to put a discount of 60%.
60.
Moment you do 60%, order service is saying this is the block of code that will be executed, right?
Yeah.
Are you getting my point? Because discount is greater than 50, it is going to throw an exception. Now you have a catch block to handle that exception. So then this is going to get displayed as well. And so basically you are catching this exception. I missed another one. So if I execute this program, let's see what happens. Now, if I go ahead and execute it, you will basically order service started this. Apply discount. This is there. Oh, I have to deploy the source to the org. I have to deploy this source to the org. First, I have to deploy this source.
Can you just explain again in
Yeah, 1 minute. I'm doing it.
Visual Studio where you're clicking to deploy the code? Like,
oh, okay. So here I'm saying right click and deploy the source to the org. You see this statement, deploy the source to the org? That's what
I'm looking for. I don't see deploy. Right click?
No. Right click and deploy.
Okay.
Okay. So here we go to the hello.apex. And now if I execute this, you will see first the error cannot be, this message got displayed. Error discount cannot be more than 50%. Because here it went over to this exception. This exception was thrown. The moment this exception was thrown, it was given over to this catch block, and this ex.get message is nothing but whatever you have written over here. So that got printed on the screen. So this is much more business logic related exception. So you know that if somebody is trying to set a discount more than 50%, this is the exception that will be thrown. And you will know based on the error message you have defined that, okay, this is the reason for that error message. Okay, this is how you create a custom exception. So any class you will extend from the exception class, and then based on what condition that exception is thrown, you will use this keyword throw. Throw is basically to throw an exception of a particular type. Okay, in Java there used to be a keyword called throw and throws. In Apex we don't have throws keyword, we only have throw keyword. If you want to throw an exception of what type I'm creating an object of invalid discount exception, and here I'm passing a message. And then what will happen is once that exception is thrown, then hello.apex and this catch block will get executed. Now, if I have put 40 here, what will be the output of this program? What will be the output of the program?
No exception is going to be thrown because it
Discount applied.
It defines the
Discount
criteria.
applied would be exactly no exception will be thrown. So this is the piece of code that will get executed because discount is less than 50. So else block will get executed. Okay, so if I do Control Shift P, execute it, you will see. Okay, I have to first deploy. I always miss this step. Okay, now we deployed it. Control Shift P. I have to Control Shift P, execute it. So you will see discount applied is 40%. Okay, this is how you create a custom exception, and you use this throw keyword to throw that exception. Any questions here? We will do another example and you have to tell me the output.
Could there be I'm assuming yes. So there could be more than one exception in your code. So the discount cannot exceed 50%. The region has to be North America. So you could include.
Oh, I can put multiple conditions. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
This is a simple business logic, but you can put multiple. And here you can say discount mode cannot be more than 50% for this region.
So would you be programming multiple throw news? Like under if?
No, it depends on what condition invalid discount exception is thrown. Okay.
So let's just say region. So let's make an additional condition. Say throw an exception error for when the user selects
Okay,
North
so let's say
America.
we do a string region here. Okay. And then here in the region, you say if the region, not sorry. And region is equals to US. Okay, if the region is equals to US, you're throwing the same exception for the US region. This is your error. Okay, this is one way. But if you had if let's say for region US, you don't want to apply any discount. So you can have another else if, and you can throw a different type of exception in that case. No discount for US region. So you can have a multiple if else to throw what type of exception it is.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them is possible.
Okay, I see.
You can include multiple conditions to have for this, or you can also create a different type of exception for a region like US. So you can have multiple types of exception can be thrown. Are you getting my point, Rosalina?
Right. So I'm thinking from the Apex Developer Guide, there's out-of-the-box exceptions, like you mentioned, system exceptions, and then there's the custom exceptions.
Yes.
So you could combine the two.
Yes, we can combine the two.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's do another example here. So here I'm creating a too many exceptions class. So I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, and then this needs to extend from the exception class. So here I'm going to go ahead and use extends exception. Okay, and then here I'm creating an opportunity service. So I'm deploying this class to the org. Okay, Control Shift P, execute, create Apex class, opportunity service, create another class here. Now we are creating multiple classes, and then here we will have a okay. Everybody able to follow today's class, right? I am not going too fast. Everybody is crystal clear.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Now here I'm going to call this, and we will see what will be the output. So look at this code. And let's replace. So this particular one, let's go to an account and pull up. This is the account. Now, first of all, somebody tell me before I do that. Okay, so somebody who is not from a programming background, and make me understand what this is doing. Okay, what are we doing in this class?
Well, you're querying the class opportunity.
No, start from the very basic, from the very start at line number 2. What are we doing here?
Well, you're line number 1. That's your class opportunity service. You're making it public, static void. You're making the create opportunity. So you're
what is this create
for the account? So you're searching for opportunities related to the account.
Okay, very good.
And you want to return the list of it, the ID and the account as well, ID, then from the opportunity. So select the ID, the name, stage, fields as well from the opportunity object, where it relates to the account ID.
Okay.
And then if the opportunity is open and there are less than 5 or
Where
equal.
did it say opportunities open? Where do you see opportunities open? I never checked for
Oh,
that.
sorry. Open ops. Sorry. Open ops dot size. So
But what is open ops now? What is the open ops?
I'm assuming that it's not a closed opportunity. It's an open opportunity in that stage, or
No.
the opportunity name. I don't know what open ops is.
It
So
is
you have to
getting
tell me.
all the
The list,
list of
It's a
list
list.
of
It's a
Oh,
list
it's a
name.
list of all opportunities.
list of opportunities from
Which
the
is
I
query.
mentioned
querying
that.
from this
I
query.
mentioned that up there on line 4. It was returning all opportunities.
Yeah, but that all the complete opportunities that is this query is returning, we are putting into this variable, this list variable, and we are
Got it.
checking the size of this list variable here.
And the list variable should be less than or equal to 5
Okay.
to return. So you only want 5 opportunities to be returned.
No.
Is that accurate?
No.
Okay.
No.
I don't know.
So somebody else want to take a shot at this one?
If it is, if the like the list of opportunities, whatever you get it from the select query, if it is greater than 5, greater than or equal to 5, if that account has too many opportunities, then this error message will be thrown.
Very good. Very good. Okay.
And
Then
if it is not, then like you're creating a one more variable op actually with the with this a name and stage name and all these details for that opportunity, and you are inserting that opportunity and displaying the what's that opportunity name, like, yeah.
okay. So now here, what's going to happen here? So this account has how many this is the ID I'm passing it. Okay. So this account has 5 opportunities. You can see here. Okay. So now what's going to be the output of this program?
So it throws an error,
Hmm.
and that thrown error will be catched in the catch exception block.
Very good. Very good.
So yeah, you get the message saying that, I mean, whatever is there, this account already has 5 open opportunities is displayed.
Very good. So basically, let me explain for Rosalina. So Rosalina, you explained it very well from line 4 up till here. So here you are querying the opportunity records related to a particular account, only for a particular account, depending
Well, that's
upon.
where I got thrown off, to be quite frank, because I don't see the unique account ID where you specified it. I just see
Right
account
here, account ID.
Yeah.
So from the method, from the Apex, from this anonymous window, we are passing the ID.
That's where you put it. Okay, fair enough.
Okay. So once you pass the ID, so for that ID, how many opportunities are there? We are retrieving all those opportunities for that particular account, for a specific account. Okay.
That's right. If it
Then
exceeds 5, though, it's going to throw the error.
It's if these list of opportunities exceeds 5, then you are saying throw this exception.
Correct.
Okay. And this is a custom exception or a use
It's a
or
custom.
this is a very good. This is a custom exception.
Correct.
If the opportunities associated is less than 5, then it will go ahead and create an opportunity, okay, with all these details. Name would be whatever you're passing from here. Then it is stage would be prospecting, close date
Nice.
would be system.today at 30 days from today, and it will tie it to that account and it will insert that opportunity. So if an account had less than 5, it will create an opportunity. If an account has 5 or more than 5, it is going to throw an exception saying too many open opportunity exception. Okay.
Nice.
If I execute this program, let me clear these logs, Control Shift P, execute it. Here you can say, one second. It didn't execute. Oh, one thing, I didn't deploy this. You always remember to deploy. Okay, so now if I go ahead and execute it, you will see the error exception occurs saying this account has already has 5 opportunities. But if I would have pulled up an account which didn't have that many opportunities, let's say ABC Corp has 0 opportunities, and if I used this ID here, and if I would have passed, now in this case, the exception will not be thrown and new opportunity will be created. for that particular account. Right now, this ABC Corp has no opportunities. You can see here, 0 opportunities. Moment I do this, execute this, Control-Shift-P, execute, you will see a new, no exception will be thrown in this case. Okay, no exception is going to be thrown. And opportunity was created successfully. If I go here and if you refresh this, a new opportunity would be added called New Deal November, which will have the close date set. The name is the opportunity is tied to this account. Close date is there, account name is populated, and stage is prospecting. Everybody clear?
That was cool.
Okay, awesome. So now let's go ahead and do a final difference.
Deepika,
Yeah.
before going back, can you go back to the code? Actually, I have a question on the Hello Apex.
Right here, Hello Apex.
So you are here like in the try block, not the catch block I'm talking about. In the try block, you are the opportunity service is okay. You're calling the class plus the method, and then you're passing the ID. And which is this parameter? Sorry. The New Deal November.
Okay, so what kind of method is create opportunity?
It creates an opportunity.
No, is it a, so create opportunity is a method available. What type of method it is?
Okay.
So
it's a static method. So
okay. So this parameters, what was your question?
no, I was like a New Deal November. I did not see the parameters passed on the method actually. Yeah. Okay. String opportunity. Okay, got it.
So this is the parameters you're passing, and this is the ones that to capture those parameters.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Okay. So then that's there. Now let's go back. Do one more. So why do you need why do you need to create a custom exception? There are multiple reasons for that. One is you create a custom exception when you want to handle business logic errors, so specific errors related to your business. You want to give a clear custom error message to the end user. You want to separate business logic errors from system exceptions. Means your system exceptions give a very null pointer and all that. You don't want to throw those on the screen for the user, so you customize them into better messages. You need to control rollback behavior and flow more precisely. But if you want to get a better control on your exceptions, you will create a custom exception. For example, a account has more than 3 active opportunities, your business role forbids that, so you want to throw an exception to the user telling them that, hey, you cannot have more than 3 active opportunities at a time for an account. So those kind of things, you will create a custom exception. Okay, now we will talk about any questions before we go to the next topic. Okay. So here today we are everybody good, right? I can proceed. Nobody has any doubts?
No doubt, it's just overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed.
It's new to us, so
okay,
the
guys.
teaching is perfect. Everything is perfect. It's just overwhelmed. That's all.
Okay. So you have one whole week to revise it. You'll have assignments, so you'll do a few more things tomorrow. Okay. So now we will talk about access modifiers. Okay, and then if the time permits, we will talk about getters and setters. So access modifiers, there are mainly 4 types of access modifier, and we talked about them. Public, okay. Public is accessible everywhere within the same namespace. Okay, basically within your Salesforce org, if something is marked as public, everybody will be able to access it. All the other classes will be able to access it. Private, the moment you switch something to private, you can put private in front of a method, you can put private in front of a variable, then nobody outside of the class knows about it. Accessible only inside the same class. Even from the anonymous window, you will not be able to access something which is of the type private. Okay. Protected is not accessible outside unless inherited. So if you would have declared in the parent class, okay, in the parent class, you have declared a protected variable. protected string name, okay, this name is accessible only for those classes which are children of this parent. Okay, if they are not the children of the parent class, this name will not be accessible to them. So not accessible outside unless it has been inherited. Okay, you have to be the child class should be the child of this parent class to see this name variable, that if you have marked this variable as protected. Okay, global, this is very important when we talk about web services and how to call other systems, or if your other systems are trying to call your system, your Salesforce, you have to mark that class as global. Okay, accessible everywhere, including outside your org. In managed packages can access it, API integration. So for all of that, if you want to create a class which as a web service, you will mark this class as global. Global means it is available across, okay, outside of your org. Other system outside of your system can call it. So that is the scope of global. So these are the four main modifiers. One is public, within your org anybody will be able to access it within the same namespace. Private is accessible only inside the same class, nobody outside the class would be able to access it. Protected, not accessible outside unless it has been inherited. And global is accessible everywhere. Now let's do some examples, okay, and then we will talk about each of them in detail. So we have the first one. I created a class called student, and we will create a public string name. Okay, so here Control Shift P, Apex. Okay, and we have.
Hi, Deepika. One question.
Yes, ma'am.
So in the public class, if you're trying to the public class, you're saying that it is under the same namespace. But when we are passing the variables from the like the screen flow or any other thing, so how does it handle? So I'm not able to, like in a real world example, we are not going to just call the class and do the debug window. So for example, we'll be getting a ID from some other class and then or
Yeah,
some screen flow, or how does it public
okay.
class and how does it
Okay, so for example, if let's say you are passing, let's say we take a flow, okay, and you're passing the ID of or the name of the account as a parameter to this Apex class, okay, and in that Apex class, so here I'm going to say, let's say we call it as private string ID, okay. Now those usually what you do is the methods will be public and the variables are set as private, so that they don't want to directly set a bad value in a variable, so they will mark the variable as private, but methods generally would be public. So from that flow, whichever method you are calling, to that method you will pass those variables. Are you getting my point? So here I will create a method public void call from flow. Let's say this is the method. Okay, this method is taking in a ID. Okay, and here you will say, I should be using a different one. Okay, this call from flow, and then you're passing. So this ID is equals to this ID that you have here. It is private, but you are setting up the within the class it is accessible. Okay, so in this method they know about this ID parameter, ID variable. So from the flow you will be invoking a particular method of an Apex class, right? So from that flow you will pass this ID, which will be captured into this variable, and then you can do whatever logic you want behind the scene. Are you getting my point?
Yeah.
Okay, so this
Yes.
variable is be private, variable is completely private, okay, but the method you may usually make them public. Methods are generally public, variables are private. Okay, now tell me, what is the purpose of setting this variable as private? Because I don't want somebody to directly set the value of 00 into this ID, because it's a wrong value, right? So what they do is they create a getter and a setter method, or you can customize your own getter and setter method, and you can check if a bad value is somebody is trying to put, you can throw an error at that point. Okay, so that is the purpose we make the variables as private and the methods to access those variables as public. Okay, so in this case, let's first do this example. So here there is no issue, right? So I created a student class. There is a variable of the type name. So let me deploy this class. And then here, if I say this, do you think it's going to give me an error? This is my student class. Student has one variable called name, and I'm saying student S is equals to new student. Okay, and I'm saying S dot name is equals to Simran. And S dot name. Is this statement going to give me an error, or this statement?
No.
No, because it is a public. Okay, so if I try to execute this, if I try to execute it, it is public, so it is accessible. So this will be printed on the screen. Simran would be printed. Moment I make this private. Now this name, nobody can access it outside of this class. Okay. Now if I try to execute the same thing, s dot of name, this time it is going to give me an error. So first I'm going to deploy the source to the org, and let me close this. Okay, and if I do here, Control Shift P, execute, you can see here, wait a minute. Okay, deployed. And here I'm going to say Control Shift P, execute. Okay, this is the problem with anonymous window. Ideally, this should give you an error here. And
Deepika, again, that debug word is there in the filter.
oh, it's coming from the previous one. Okay, thank you, Ravi. So here, if I go, and you can see that basically even the error didn't show up. Here also, let me go and run this again. Control S, Control Shift P, execute. Okay, so you can see here, variable is not visible, student.name. So you can tell you the variable is not visible because it is marked as something called as private. Okay, anything that is marked as private is not accessible outside of that particular class. If there is a method inside of this, I can access this name variable. But outside of this student class, nobody knows about this variable called name. Okay. Any questions on private and public? Very simple. Private means within the class, anybody can access it. Nobody can access it outside of the class. If you made a method as private, then that method won't be accessible outside the class. Okay. So if you make something public, it is available within that whole Salesforce org. Everybody will be able to access it. Now here,
There is a problem in the code. What is, yeah, I would like
because
to
see
see
here,
what.
I marked it as private, right?
Yeah, I mean, under problems tab, there is something.
No, that is something else. Yeah, that's the
okay.
same thing. Variable is not visible, student not name. So it is telling you line number 2, column
Okay.
number 3. So line number 2, this is the one. It is giving you an error.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
Deepika, is it
Yeah.
possible that you can make class as private, like private
So the
class?
outside class, this class needs to always be public. The top level class has to be public.
No, but this class can be private because our test classes are private.
No, but if you mark this class as private, who is going to execute it?
Salesforce internally will execute it.
No, if you
I mean,
say
I'm just saying, if you can make it private, my question is,
yeah,
can we have a variable which is public, because that's contradictory, right?
yeah, it is
You are
contradictory.
having class as private and the variable will be public. That cannot be happen, right?
That cannot happen. Because in order, you can't access the class, how are you going to access the variables of that class?
I just wanted to see the error, like if it will
Here,
show the error.
if I try to do this, string s is equals to new, let's go ahead and deploy this. See, it first of all, top level class must have public or global visibility. So that's why for a top level class, you should always mark it as public. If it was an inner class, you can mark it as private, but not a top level class. Just for Apex classes, it's an exception because we use the @is_test. But this is not a test class. So if it is not a test class, the outer class should always be public.
Okay, thank you so much.
Now
only
let's
test classes can be made private.
Yes. Yeah. So here, if you go to this one, I'm creating you have to tell me the output of this one, okay? Account helper. Okay. Now inside of this account helper, I am creating a counter private. This is a private variable increment, and this is correct. And here, let me deploy this. And then here, calling it from another class. Okay, guys, now tell me what is going to be the output of this program. Account helper is here, okay? Account helper, inside of this, I have a variable of the type private integer, and the counter value is equals to 0. Then I'm saying ah.increment. What does it do? Okay, let's do this. So tell me what's going to be the value. What's going to be the output of the program?
We'll type it in the chat.
Okay. Let's look at the answers. I'm going to leave it here. This is your Apex class.
Can you show me the Epic class, please?
Yes. And this is the Apex class. It just has an increment method and a get counter method. Okay. Counter is equals to 0. I'm calling ah.increment, and this is the. Is there an error with this statement anywhere in this code? Any errors?
Does system.debug need to be after line 6?
Why?
I just thought I'd guess. I'm thinking
No,
that
it doesn't have to be.
it's not. The code would stop running after line 4, I guess.
No. So first of all, I cannot do this. Okay. If I try to execute this program, this will result into an error. You can see here, it won't do anything else. It will say variable is not even visible. because this variable is a private variable and I'm trying to access this variable directly, ah.counter. Okay, this is a private variable, and because this is private, it is basically doesn't even run anything. But if I comment this piece of code, now tell me what will be the output of the program.
It will tell you that it's private.
It is telling me right here, variable is not visible. Okay, but what is this ah.increment is doing?
Plus plus.
Yeah, so what does this plus plus means?
It's taking
0 plus 1, it
0
will do
plus
1.
1.
Yes, so this is going to increase the value of counter by what?
1.
Then what will this do?
1.
2 again. What will this do?
3.
No. It's a private variable, so it will always be 0, so it will always increment to 1.
No.
The method is public.
Method is public. Okay. If it was C, okay, so there are okay, we have different versions of this. You have to give me and we learned everything. So this is a revision time. ah.increment. So we created an object, right? How many objects have we created?
1.
One object, right? And inside of this, we have a variable called counter. And the value of counter is equals to 0. Okay, we are saying ah.increment. So what will this do? It will increment this. Ah is nothing but a reference variable to this object. ah.increment is going to increase the value of counter by 1. So the new value of counter will be 1. ah.increment again. Now what is the old value of counter? 1. It's not going to reinitialize 1. It will become 2. Then 1 plus 1 is equals to 2 because increment plus plus. Then again it is calling ah.increment. What is the old value of counter? 2. So 2 plus 1 becomes 3. So 3 is the final value here. But if I would have created another variable, okay, so this is going to result me 3. If I say ah2 and I say ah2.increment, okay, and here I do ah2.increment, okay, and system.of_debug. Now what's going to be the value? What's going to be the value? It's a static variable or a non-static variable?
Non-static.
So now what's going to happen? I want output. What will be displayed here?
Three and 4.
Huh?
3 and 4.
This
3
one would
and
be
7.
Who is saying 3 and 7?
It's me. Hema. I thought like the
Okay, whenever you're not clear, guys, create the diagrams. It is when what I told you about instance H.
I think it's gonna create both 3 and 3, both 3.
Why both 3?
The value of counter is 3 and the value of counter R2 is 3, I think.
How many times AH2 is being called?
3 and 4.
7 and 9.
3 and
Yeah,
4, yes,
3 and
yes,
4.
yes, 3 and 4, yes.
Okay.
but already the counter is 3, so doesn't it get added here? H2.
Okay, so tell me there was a difference between an instance variable and a static variable. What was the difference?
I looked it up
So static variable,
variables-
you call it within the class, so you call the class an instant variable. You initiate it, like you create an object outside.
But what
and
is
then
the
call.
other difference? What is the other difference?
Well, a method, the public static void method, it can be callable. It's called without creating an object.
No, I understand that. But there is one major difference between an instance variable and a static variable.
Static variable can be shared by all the,
It's only shared within the class.
Yeah.
Exactly. So here, if I run this operation, okay, the answer is going to be 3 and 4, okay, not 3 and 7. And I'll tell you why. So if I go ahead and do this, and if you execute this, you can see here the value of counter AH is 3, the value of counter AH2 is 4. Moment I change this to static, now what's going to be the output?
Three and 3?
No.
It's going to be only line 2,
7 now,
2 and
because
6.
you already, yeah,
2
no,
and 6.
3 and 7, I guess.
It'll be, Ravi, what's going to be the answer?
First of all, your AH1, AH2, they are like redundant now. So you have to do it for account helper dot.
You can do this way too. You can do this way also. You don't have to always use class name for a static variable. You can do it with the object also.
Okay, I think it's 3 and 7, because if it's a single static variable, then it will be 3 and then
I think who is, let's see, it's going to be 7 and 7. So if I go ahead and let's see.
7 and 7, sorry, 7 and 7, yes.
It's going to be 7 and 7. Why? Because I'll tell you. Okay. So see, when it was a non-static variable, a copy of the variable is shared by, so non-static means every variable will have its own copy of the instance variable. So here you created two objects. One's reference was AH, the other's reference was AH2. Please pay attention. Okay, so here I'm saying, increment increases the value of counter by 1. So we say counter, this one has counter, this one has counter. This counter is equals to 0, this counter is equals to 0. We are saying right now it is non-static. Okay, ah.increment. What will be the value of ah.increment? I'm increasing the value of counter by 1. So it becomes 1. Again, I'm calling increment. So now the value becomes 2. Again, I'm calling increment, the value becomes 3. Then I'm saying ah2.increment. This value becomes 1. ah2.increment, this value became 2. ah2.increment, the counter became 3. ah2.increment, counter became 4. Okay, so what is the value of the counter at ah.counter? It is 3 and this is 4. But if it was a static variable, what will happen if it's a static variable? This one and this object, both are sharing this variable that is existing outside of the class called counter. It doesn't belong to the objects. It is outside. So it starts with 0. You are saying ah.increment. ah.increment means it will increase the value by 1. ah.increment, it will increase the value by 1, make it 2. ah.increment, increase the value by 1, make it 3. Then you are saying ah2.increment. Again, it is current value is 3 because it's belonging to the class. So 3 becomes 4. Then this ah2 becomes 5. Then ah2 again becomes 6. And then ah2 becomes 7. Now you're saying both of them are sharing the same counter. So for both of them, this is going to be the value 7 and 7 because it is a static variable. So if I go ahead and print this, execute, you will see, wait a minute, I didn't deploy this one. Okay, now if I go here, clean this up, Control-Shift-P, execute, 7 and 7. You can see here. Okay, did you understand the difference?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if I would have moved this over here, what will be the value?
It's 3 and 7 now. Yeah.
3 and 7. Because at this point, the value was 3. I'm
3,
printing
yeah.
AH.counter. At this point, the value becomes 7. Now, if I put this again here, it would be 3, 7, 7. 3 here, 7 here, and 7 here.
So Deepika, sorry, I'm again asking a question.
You can ask
The
as many questions.
no, the variable is private, right? So then we are calling it here. It's outside of the class. So
Okay,
I
tell
mean,
me where I'm calling the variable in this. Where am I calling the variable?
okay, variable means we are like like increment equals 0. So
Increment
that's
is a method or a variable?
oh, sorry, method. The
Method is public or
variable
private?
public. Okay,
So
I got it.
I can call it from here, right?
Yeah. We can call it from here. Okay.
See, the increment inside is using counter, which is okay because counter is in the same class. Increment is also here. So increment
Okay.
is okay.
Okay. I got
If
it.
I would have said h dot of counter, it would have given me an error.
Okay.
Okay,
I got it. Yeah.
got it?
Okay, I
Okay,
got it.
excellent.
Got it.
Deepika, if you don't mind, could you just high level explain the static and the instance variable just to
That's
get the
exactly where I'm getting. That's because you explained it with the visual, but I need to understand why the numbers change. So you had 3 and 7, but then you demonstrated 7 and 7. So where I need that connection.
So understand. Static variable belongs to the class and only one copy of the variable is present, which is shared by all the objects of that class. Okay. So if one object has updated this variable, the other object will also see the updated value of the same variable. Whereas the non-static variable, every object will have its own copy of that variable. So counter would
Got
be
it. Okay. Yep.
counter will be available here, counter would be available here if it is an instance variable. But if it is a static variable, they don't appear for every object. It is available to the class outside of that objects. So if this object has made some changes to the counter, this object will see the updated value of that counter. Okay. Because
When what you have static.
When you have static means it belongs to the class outside of any objects. Okay. So here,
non-static will have
yeah,
instances of each whatever like a method or like each variable, right?
come back again. What was the question?
I mean, static will have it belongs to the class. So whenever another method or anything calls and updates that variable, then that will hold the value of that variable until even if other method calls it. So in non-static, what it happens is like every method or every object instances you create, they will have a separate copy. So the value will be initially whatever is you
Yes.
initialized it to that.
Yes. So here, if I say ah dot increment, let me get rid of these 1 and 2. So here, this is a static variable, right? Counter is a static variable. Means now if I created another object, okay, now if I created another object and we call it ah2 is equals to new, let's see, we do this ah2 and then we make it ah3 here. And here I am saying ah3 dot of increment. Okay. Now tell me what is going to be the value of ah3. ah3.counter system.debug ah2.counter. Now what's going to be the value? Because it is the same static variable counter, okay?
8.
Now I have 3 objects, ah2, and ah3. Okay? Here, ah.increment, it is changing the value of 0 to 1, right? because it is outside of any objects. So it increased the value. AH.increment again increase the same value to 2. AH.increment increase the value to 3. So if I say AH.getCounter, it will print 3 for me. If I, at this point, if I would have said AH2.getCounter will also give me 3. AH3.getCounter will also give me 3 because everybody are seeing the same counter. Then I'm saying AH2 is equals to new of AH2. AH2.increment means it will increase the same 3 to now 4. Then here I am saying 4 became 5, 6, and 7. So 6 and 7. Then AH3 is available. Now we are checking the same counter. So 7 becomes increment. It became 8. So this one will give you 8. This one will also give you 8. Are you getting my point?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So wait a second. I said 9 because I included your third to be 7, and then it's increasing.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Where is the 9th one?
Oh, sorry. I was counting system.debug. I got it now. Sorry,
No,
it's my
this
eyes.
is just print.
I
This is
understand.
just
I was counting those 2 lines. Got it.
So this is going to be 8 and 8. So if I go here, Control Shift P, execute 3 at this line, 8 here, and then 8 again. Okay. But
Perfect.
if I would have made it a non-static, what is going to be the value? Give me the value. What is if I made it non-static?
3, 4, and 1.
Very good. 3, 4, and 1.
Perfect.
Okay. Because everybody will have its own copy of that variable. So if I go ahead and do this, first let me deploy this. Okay, then execute this. Okay, 3, wait a minute. AH.counter would be 3. AH3.counter would be 1, and AH2.getCounter would be 4. Because here it is 4 times, this is only 1 time. So each will have its own copy. Whereas there's only 1 copy and everybody is sharing it. Okay? So that is, yeah, go ahead.
Deepika, here we are writing 2 methods and calling these 2 methods with 1 object, right? 1 variable.
Object, no, this is, we're creating how many objects here?
3.
Yeah. So this AH.getCounter, we are calling on which variable? This one, which is nothing but a reference variable to the object.
Okay.
Okay, here we are calling the increment method again from this variable AH2. And then AH3 is a object. Basically, AH3 is a reference variable to the object, means it is a link to get to that object. Okay, but it is a variable of the type account helper. And we are calling AH3.of_increment.
Yeah, but we are writing 2 methods and we are calling those 2 methods with the help of object, right?
Yeah,
With the
because
help of
both these
variable.
methods are non-static. So you have to create the object in order to call those methods.
Okay. So whatever method we want, we can call with the help of object, right?
Yeah, if it is a non-static method, correct.
Okay, thanks.
So now let's do another one here. So if I create a class vehicle, okay. So here I'm saying a variable protected. Okay. So here we will go ahead and create a class. Protected you will use only in the case of inheritance. So what do I need to write here in order for me to inherit from vehicle class? What is the keyword?
Extends.
Very good. Extends. from vehicle to, okay. And if I go ahead and use this show engine, this variable would be available. If it was private, if I make this private, what is going to be the output, guys? Private is not accessible outside. Okay. So if I deploy these classes, so if I go ahead and deploy this car, this engine type is not available outside of this car class. Okay. And here you can say, oh, okay. What is the reason for this error, guys? What is the error? What is, looking at the message, what should I do?
You didn't deploy this.
No, I think you didn't.
Extend.
I did use extends right here. I have to make this class virtual, remember?
Yeah.
So now I'll deploy this. And here I also needs to do this. Now I deploy this. See here, it is telling me variable is not visible, engine type, because engine type is a private variable. It's not accessible. But the moment I make it either public or protected, then it will work. Okay, then if I go ahead and deploy this, this will work because protected means it is available outside of the class which inherits from it. So here, what will be the output? It will say gasoline. Okay, so if I go ahead and execute this, hello.apex, get rid of this. So in order for me to call it, I'll say here it is not allowed. v.of engine type is not allowed because engine type is belonging to this class. Only the class which extends from it can do it. So if I need to call this, I have to create the object of the class car2 is equals to c is equals to new of car2. And then I can say c.of show engine. Okay. So what will be displayed here? Control-Shift-P, execute anonymous window. Let me see. What happened here? Wait a minute, let me just do this engine. Okay, so something is off. C.of show engine, that's why I didn't have a semicolon. Control-Shift-P, you can see here in the debug, it did printed gasoline. Okay, so that is what it printed on the screen. But if it was a private, it won't be accessible. If it was public, it will be accessible. So protected means the classes which inherit from them will get the value of the protected. Okay, so this is how the most most restrictive is private. Okay, after private, what is the next restrictive one?
Protected.
Protected. After protected is what?
Public.
After that?
Global.
Excellent. This is the order of most restrictive to least restrictive. Global is when we are creating web services, you will use global. Public is within your same namespace within your Salesforce org. Protected is only for inheritance, classes which inherit. And private is only to the class in which it is declared.
Can you show an example of the namespace? I think I know.
Namespace, it's I cannot show you names. Think of it like within your Salesforce org.
Right.
Okay, within your Salesforce org, because we're using one org here, we are using this one namespace.
Can I think of it as the concept of org ID?
Namespace is more of.
Let me look it up. Yeah.
Namespace is more of, I don't want to, no, org ID is organized, like, let's see, let's do an example here. How to create a class in another namespace inside of your Salesforce org. I've never done this one. This more when you're using like packages and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, so when you create a developer edition register namespace, so you need that namespace.
It's required for packaging, groups
Yeah.
component. It's
Yeah, but
organization's namespace. So my namespace prefix becomes my namespace : my component.
yeah, so here this is your all the classes that you're creating right now in the developer edition belongs to one namespace. Okay, but if you want to create a package or stuff like that which is outside the scope of this class, we then the namespace will come into picture. But
Okay.
since within the same org, it will stick to one namespace. Okay, so this is it for today's class, guys. Next class, we will talk about what do you call the setters and the getters method, and then I will see what else to cover in that class. Okay, any questions before we wrap up?
You'll be sharing the documentation from these two.
Yeah, I'll put everything in the the drive.
Perfect.
Okay, everybody is good for the class. Everybody enjoyed the class today.
Yeah, today was fun.
Okay, awesome.
Yes, we enjoy it. Just overwhelmed, like I said.
Yeah, just
we'll
practice,
catch
guys.
up. It's new
Okay.
to
You know
program,
what?
is new to us.
So
finally showed us the code for how to create records automatically. That is awesome. It was just like 3 lines.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay, guys, please revise your previous classes. Don't skip anything. Go through it. You have one entire week, 5 days to go. Even if you do one a day, you will be covering 5 classes, which is a lot. So go through them, and I will talk to you next weekend.
Yeah, Deepika, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
for all your
Deepika.
hard work.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Deepika. Thank you.